Let's see, it's Richard Cushing. I was born in Quincy, Massachusetts in 1947. Actually, it's important to say North Quincy as opposed to Quincy. So it was North Quincy, they've got their own high school. And I lived there for, let's see, I guess my whole early life. I got a letter in baseball, yeah. My mother was what used to be called a stay-at-home mom, and my father worked for Filene's department store. He was a driver for packages, and later on he was in charge of stocking the smaller Filene stores outside of Boston with supporting them with all their supplies. I decided to join the military because I got a letter from the military saying, we have chosen you to represent us in a war, and you must serve.
And which branch did you join?
The Army.
What was basic training like?
Let's see, it was in my first trips to the South. It was at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. So I got to meet the people from the South and the different, I visited the different states. And that was my indoctrination to the rest of the country, really, and to the military.
What was basic training like?
It was pretty simple. I think it was 16 weeks, and it was, I don't know, beginning to learn the skills that I might be chosen to do. I don't know, but basically it was being a grunt, which was carrying a weapon around for the first time in my life, and learning a little bit of medicine, and learning communication, and so on and so forth. Interesting, because there used to be an airline called Eastern Airlines, which was very popular back in the day, and my first plane trips were back and forth to follow the orders of the military of where I needed to be and when and how fast, and that's how I made it through the military basic training. Later on, after basic, I was sent to, let's see, advanced infantry training, and then I was sent to the Command Leadership School for the Infantry at Fort Benning in a program called, which was kind of jokingly called the Shake and Bake NCO School. They were losing so many military squad leaders in Vietnam that they created a program where when you graduated in the United States, you were a squad leader when you got off the plane in Tan Son Nhut, Saigon. Half of us requested to leave the program immediately, so we had to do half the program because we didn't want to get off the plane in Vietnam in charge of a squad. That seemed very dangerous, very unfortunate, and so that's what happened to me, though.
What were your instructors like?
A lot of them were from the South, it seems to me. They were pretty good. They wanted to make sure most of them wanted to make sure we all came back in one piece. I was only in the military for 2 years, less than 2 years, because I got shot right through the training, no pun intended. And so my appearance in the military was short and sweet. I got wounded on my first patrol in the Hobo Woods outside of Cushing. I got the Purple Heart my first day in the field. And a week later, after coming back from the 25th of VAC Hospital, I got sent back to the front line. So that's my quick introduction to the military and the action and what was going on.
What type of equipment were you trained on?
Typical infantry, learning how to use various kinds of weapons like grenade launchers and the M16 and typical typical weapons, which I knew nothing about and still do.
And what was your first duty station again?
Say what?
What was your first duty station?
Let's see, I guess it was in Cushing for the 3rd Platoon, 25th Infantry Company, which was out of Hawaii. And that was my first unit and pretty much my only unit throughout. I was still with the same unit, sure. I was with them, I think, for probably 10 months. And I got various awards and this and that just for being in the wrong place at the wrong time and so on and so forth. The war in 1970 was getting pretty serious because it was getting close to either the Vietnamese government in the North was going to come forward, take charge, or we were going to win out. So it was pretty intense in 1970. We got several leaves, and the leaves, the government would allow you at their expense to go to places like Australia, or I'm trying to think of the other locations around the world. So for recreation, my friends and I went to, where did we go? We went to Taipei on 2 occasions for a week at the government's expense, and that was our leave time. Taipei, Taiwan. My journeys in those days were pretty jammed packed with military obligations.
After you, what year did you come home in?
1970. I had a full scholarship to Suffolk University, a full 4-year scholarship. My marks got too low because I was working during the day, and Suffolk allowed me to take the scholarship at night. But my marks got too low because I was trying to do both. And so then I got back into the limelight. Suffolk gave me the scholarship back, and I got various jobs. I eventually worked for the Postal Service for 32 years. I became a member of the Vietnam Veterans Against the War. That took up a lot of my time. And I just decided to get on with life, try to do what I could to interpret the war that had meant really a whole lot of my life, because it changed my course almost overnight. To get back into how that happened and how it got me to where I was in 1975 and 1980 and 1990 and so on.
What rank were you when you were discharged?
I was an E5 sergeant. I got 3 Bronze Stars. I got the Purple Heart. I got the Air Medal. Air Medal is for flying into situations that are kind of, it's hard to describe, but it means you didn't have any support going into the mission. You didn't have helicopters gunships protecting you, because it was supposed to be a surprise. So I had enough hours to show that I deserved the Air Medal because I landed without artillery support and gunships. I just landed in a surprise move that the Army thought was clever and cool and made a difference. So those are the medals I can remember.
But when did you move to West Newbury?
In the 70s, when I took the government exam that showed that I qualified to be a mail carrier, and they sent me to West Newbury, Massachusetts. Okay, I was on the Board of Selectmen, the Library Trustees, the Water Commissioners, which are all elected positions. I'm on the board of the West Newbury Housing now. I've done other things in town. I can't think now that went I've done things because they interested me in town, and coaching sports and different things like that. I've done different things in West Newbury.
Do you still keep in touch with any friends you made in the Army?
Some I have, and we're all in our 70s now. We've gone our separate ways, had different lives. I would say we were all working class kind of people, so we kind of stuck with typical jobs, hourly paying jobs that meant, in some ways, the ability to function in a way that was profitable to a company, so to speak, was profitable also for us because we were able to earn a living. We got spread out, again, because we were working class. We ended up working all around the country. We stayed together, some of us, on email and other types of typical communication. We have different beliefs, of course, and Republican and Democrat and this and that. But we stayed close, share a few laughs, but really in the end, there wasn't really a whole lot to laugh about the Vietnam War. It was more the other side.
And would you recommend that someone join the military?
I don't know how to even approach that question. The military, no, I have no comment. The Vietnam Veterans Against the War tried to, for instance, I was the town marshal for a local Memorial Day parade. I was selected to be the marshal. I was also the lead speaker on one in a Memorial Day parade. So basically, my message to people is, it is in fact a fairly free country compared to the scale across the world. There is information out there about everything you would ever want to know that would point you in the right direction politically. And the Veterans Against the War are keen on Americans getting every bit of information about war and peace. And this is what I said when I was the speaker. I looked at the parents and the grandparents and I said, get all the information about war and peace as you possibly can, and make sure your families take the right course that's good for the world. Please keep the Soldiers and Sailors Memorial Building open and available in the town of West Newbury. It's across the street, basically, down the street. It's where records used to be kept. It's where information on world affairs, together with the GAR Memorial Library, used to be kept. The building is in a little bit of need of restoration. I hope that building is restored to all its functions, and that the families of West Newbury can come to the GAR Memorial Library, can come to the Soldiers and Sailors Building, and get every bit of information they need to make the right decisions about where the United States should find itself in the world and what it should be promoting. Agent Orange was a development that occurred, and I know people who have died from Agent Orange. Chemicals used in Vietnam. I can look at the obituaries of people dying today because Agent Orange is still killing Americans, both former soldiers and people who use products on their lawns. It's still killing people in the United States, and it's killing people in Vietnam to this day. It's still in the water. And I believe Agent Orange can, I'm not an expert on this, I believe it can be transferred. I think it can be carried and turned over, would it be biologically, it'd say, whatever the term is. And so Agent Orange was a terrible, terrible product, and apparently it still is. I don't know, it's just educate, again, get the best education from the best colleges and high schools you can possibly afford, and you can get to, and you can become a part of. Just always get the best news you can, no matter what you do for a living, what your children feel like they want to do when they grow up. Make education your top priority, and your families and the country and the world will be better off. My son, one of the things I do with my son is, he's a book writer. He's about to publish his 8th book, Evan Cushing. And when I go to the cemeteries, I am the acting chaplain for Commander Bob James. And before the graves every year, I quote what I call tributes and eulogies and different statements from my son's book on poetry over the graves of people who have died in West Newbury, who are from West Newbury, who lost their lives in war and during peace as well, as far as the military is concerned. And I want to thank Evan for his words of kindness and support, and the veterans who have died, and the veterans who continue to do their very best they can to make this a better world.